A large body of research has been devoted to investigating gender differences in world Englishes. In this module, we'll talk about these differences and also how these differences are reflected in bilingual writers' writings. These gender differences that we observe in the use of English by the users of English in the outer and expanding circle in a way have functioned as a means of shaping linguistic pluralism and diversity. Since we see different types of diversification in the use of English, these gender differences contribute to the same diversity. So we see that the use of English by different genders differently adds to this diversity and pluralism in the use of English. This gender-specific discourse, these gender-specific discourse studies, in fact, illustrate the expanding socio-cultural dimensions of English use. Since we have different socio-cultural dimensions of English use now, which are specific to different communities, cultures, countries, etc., we can add the gender-specific variety of English to the same category. So in this way, the gender-specific language vis-a-vis world Englishes is yet another dimension of the use of English in the outer and expanding circle countries. So, gender also in this way emerges as a factor impacting the spread of English. For example, when these women in different roles, for example, as teachers or within their own local communities, at home, as professional writers, etc., when they use English, they are in a way playing a role in spreading English. Spreading one variety of English or participating in the spread of English through their own roles. We see that there are distinctive characteristics of male and female use of English, and these differences are observed in different varieties of world Englishes. The differences in male and female speech are easily observable in different varieties of Englishes, and these differences are based on local cultural norms and values. Bilingual writers' creativity also includes gender as an essential promoter of world Englishes. For example, when these bilingual writers, Indian English writers, Pakistani English writers, when they produce work in English, they transfer the local norms and values in the English language through their writings, and in this way they are promoting a new variety of English, a variety of English which is not known to the native English speakers through their writings, which are distinctive of the female style of writing, let's say, or female use of English. So we see that the use of gender is also nativized in the world English's context. We see the use of gender in the language which is specific to a particular community or culture. So some of the aspects of English language which use nativizing of gender, or which demonstrate nativizing of gender, are different forms of address and reference. For example, in different cultures, male and female are referred to differently. Similarly, abuses and insults which are used by different genders and for different genders also different. Indirectness, women are often said to be more indirect compared to men, and we see this being used in the use of world Englishes by both the genders, especially by females and especially female writers. There's also a difference in politeness patterns, how politeness is used and for what purposes politeness is used by men and women is also different, and this difference is reflected in the use of world Englishes as well. So the authors of outer circle varieties of English transfer these local norms and these norms which are used in particular social contexts into their own writing. So we see Pakistani variety of English demonstrating the use of English by a particular gender, or showing how a particular gender uses language. The local sociocultural patterns, notions, and ideas are in this way reflected in these indigenized varieties. The local values, treatment of gender, etc., is also reflected through indigenized varieties of English. However, this representation of gender through indigenized varieties of English also comes with a price. These female writers are often marginalized. They are marginalized for two reasons. One being female writers, they are often target of a lot of criticism, harsh criticism and critique, and also because they write in a foreign tongue, in a foreign language. Therefore, they do not get the same kind of attention that a writer writing in a local language will get. And despite this issue, this challenge, they are willing to write in English. So they choose English, although English is represented as a tool for empowerment and liberation, etc. In this particular aspect of the use of English, we see that choice of English leads to some cultural oppressiveness. They are oppressed and marginalized for writing in English. So we see the representation of gender in different varieties of world Englishes, especially by female writers of English.